Yo Timmy, yes, you, aren't you tired of getting slapped in Arena Breakout? Don't you want to rack up those wins and get richer? Well, guess what? Today, I'm here to teach you how to become an absolute monster in PvP. Whether you're an experienced player who still struggles to get kills or a newbie who just started out, these tips will 100% help you to correct your mistakes and dominate the game with the art of PvP. So without further ado, let's get into it, cause I got a lot to say. Okay, so now the first part is about the armors. I guess you already know that the first step to get kills is not to be killed, which means if you're playing with anything lower than T5, you're most likely to die. But besides that, there's another mistake which most of the players don't pay attention to. As you know, different armors protect different parts, so you have to play different while wearing different armors. Or, in other words, your playstyle has to match your armor. That's right, most of the people believe in the opposite, that your armor has to match your playstyle. Which is not wrong, but that's another issue. Now let me explain. In PvPs, you have to take advantage of what your armor offers to you. If it's one of those light armors which you can pretty much fly around the map in them, then peeking the corners or standing still in a fight is the worst you can do. The opposite goes for the heavy boys. Not peeking the corners or trying to move a lot in a PvP is the biggest mistake which will get you killed most of the times. Now when I say don't peek the corners with the light armors, I don't mean not to peek at all. Cause it's obvious if you're going to run into a corridor, you have to peek the corners to make sure no one's waiting for you. But what I actually meant is when you are in a corridor, instead of going behind covers and peeking constantly, just run the whole corridor and don't waste no more time. By doing that, you can use the element of surprise and make your enemies panic. So, with the light armors, don't peek, don't move a lot in the PvPs, and with the heavy ones, peek corners and stand still. Now, you might say, bro, what do you mean stand still? Of course I'll end up dying. Well, not really. The heavier your armor is, the lower your agility is, so even if you wanted to move, you couldn't. So instead of putting 50% on the aim and 50% on the movement, then why not 100% aim? Since you're standing still, it's way easier for you to aim, and again, since your armor is heavy, you're protected to the tip of your toe, so it's not that risky. And just to complete my point, there's this psychological trick in standing still which I call the freeze frame. When you're moving in a direction, your enemy expects you to keep moving in that direction, and when you freeze abruptly, he's going to keep moving his aim in his predicted way, which you're not going to be there and you can easily get him. So yeah, the freeze frame actually works. Now that you know what to do with different armors, let's move on to the helmets. In Arena Breakout, about 90% of the helmets don't provide face coverage, and when you're trying to push, peek, jump, jiggle, or anything, your face is the most vulnerable part of your body. To solve this problem, you either buy def helmets which make you 80% less useful, or spend over 100k to get an IND-70. Or you can use my trick. Let me explain it with an example. Imagine you're wearing a full T5 set but your face shield is tier 4 or nothing. Anything lower than T4 is nothing. In that case, you're fully covered in these parts and the only vulnerable part is your face. Now you tell me, isn't it a bit dumb to peek only with your head out or try to sit in your PvPs? Most of the players don't aim for the head and they try to keep their aim level on the center. Now when your only vulnerable part is higher than their aim level, then sitting and making it even with their aim level is a mistake. Same goes for peeking. If the only part which has no coverage is your face, then exposing more of your body while peeking isn't a mistake, cause like, come on, if the only part I can hit is your face, then I'm gonna aim for it. But if I see more of your body, I might get tempted to shoot it instead of your head. And the opposite goes for the protected helmets. If your helmet covers your face, then try to sit or peek the corners just with your head out, cause sitting in a PvP lowers the chance of your armor getting damaged and you can handle more fights. And also, if your helmet or the face shield is not strong enough, then try to peek constantly in a PvP. Due to the gun's recoil which goes straight up, you can avoid getting unexpected headshots by peeking constantly. I know, sometimes you get headshot by peeking, but that's sometimes. And that was all about the armor's role in your PvPs. Now the second part, aiming. Shooter games in general divide into two groups, movement-based and aim-based. Movement-based games like COD Mobile, Warzone, and Apex Legends are heavily affected by movements, and if you don't use movements a lot, you'll end up losing all of your matches. But on the other hand, most super realistic games like Escape from Tarkov, PUBG, or CSGO are aim-based, cause they are super realistic, and in reality, you don't slide, cancel, jump, fly, or anything, but you put all your attention into aiming. Same goes for this game. ArenaBreakout, being one of the most super realistic games ever, is one of those aim-based games which if you're not able to aim well, you can't win your PvPs. Look, aiming has a long story and I can't cover it all up in 2 or 3 minutes, and I have to make its own video, but for now I'll give you 2 simple methods to get better at aiming and win more of your PvPs. Movement prediction and movement imitation. It sounds a lot like movement tips, right? Yeah, it does, but it's not. Do you remember what I said earlier about the freeze frame? That your enemy predicts your path while you're running. That's actually the right thing to do, and freeze frame won't work if it's a long range PvP. In long range fights, before shooting, you have to predict your enemy's movement for a few seconds after shooting, and then you start to shoot. And I assure you that they won't use freeze frame in long range PvPs, cause that's obviously what you don't want to do. So predict the movements, jumps, crouchings, and don't even think about it going wrong, cause even if it goes wrong, you'll take lessons from it, and the next time when you want to predict the movements, you won't make those mistakes again. And now for the close range combat, we have the technique called movement imitation. And it's simple, just imitate your enemy's movements, which leads to your aim being on them the whole time. So let's say if they're moving right, you move right, or if they crouch, you crouch with them too. By doing that, you'll end up having a good aim without any difficulty. And that was just a brief explanation on aiming, which I will talk about it more on its own video. Now let's talk about the last PvP tip, the movement. Like I said, ArenaBreakout is not that much of a movement-based game, and movements do not affect your PvP that much, but knowing at least a tip or 2 won't harm anyone. So, the problem with most of the players is that they know different movements, but they can't execute them well. Like, everybody knows the simple jiggle, crouchings, jumpings, peekings, but when it comes to the fight, they just get lost and won't use any of them. So if you have the same problem, I'll give you this trick, which will solve it in a matter of seconds. Instead of trying to choose the movements when you're fighting, use a particular pattern to use them. For example, your pattern could be jiggle, crouching, jumps. So in your next 3 PvPs, use jiggling in the first one, crouch in the fight with the second one, and jump for the third guy. But make sure the movement that you choose matches your armor set as well. Like, if you're wearing T4 helmet, cancel the crouchings and add peekings instead. And that's all for today's video, but just remember guys, no tip or tutorial can fill the place of experience. You gotta make a lot of mistakes, you gotta lose a lot of money to learn how to play. And don't compare yourself to others. Us humans are different with different talents and learning abilities. Some people might learn so fast and some might not even learn after 10 times. Maybe you're not there yet, but you will if you try hard enough. Thanks for watching the video till the end and subscribe, we are getting close to hit the 10k. Man, I have nothing but love for you guys. Yeah, love y'all, see you in a bit.